Hey everyone, welcome to Tell You the Truth, the podcast where the group chat comes to life. I'm your host, Brittany Sharpton, and each week we dive into those juicy conversations, usually reserved just for our closest friends. Stories about love, wellness, careers, and personal growth. This is your space for unfiltered honesty, shared laughs, and maybe even a little self-discovery along the way. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, settle in, and let's get real. Because to tell you the truth, our stories deserve to be heard. Let's get started. Welcome to Tell You the Truth. Today, I am thrilled to share an amazing conversation I had with personal finance powerhouse, Bola Sokunbi, founder of Clever Girl Finance, one of the largest personal finance platforms for women in the U.S. Bola is also the author of 4 best-selling books, including Choosing to Prosper and the Clever Girl Finance series. Bola and I had such an enlightening conversation that covered everything from practical debt repayment strategies to the role social media plays in creating financial comparison traps. Bola and I also talked about how to reject the microwave success mindset in favor of building lasting wealth because, hint, hint, it is not a get-quick-fix scheme. Then we dived into the oh-so-relevant, juicy, somewhat controversial topic of finances and relationships, and why Bola believes that every woman, even if you have a provider partner, needs a solid foundation for her finances. Not from a position of fear, but because life just be lifing. Life is unpredictable. This conversation was both insightful and so much fun. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. So grab your coffee or a glass of wine, get comfortable, and let's jump right into it. I am so excited to have Miss Bola Sokunbi here with us. She is a powerhouse personal finance guru, 4-time best-selling author, I believe about to be 5-time or just
about to be 5-time. I claim it. Yes.
About to be 5-time. Okay, so I was right. Best-selling author and the founder of Clever Girl Finance, which is one of my favorite finance platforms, blogs, all around community. And I am so honored and excited to have Bola on with us today to talk all things wealth, wellness, and wonderfulness. I just made up that word. Welcome, Bola.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited and nervous to talk to you, Brittany.
You shouldn't be. Like, Bola can do this with her eyes closed, but I was telling her prior to us starting that, you know, she is a maverick at this. But I said, let's just get slightly more juicy and dig a little further than the typical financy conversation.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to just start off with just a slight icebreaker before we get into the real finance tea. So, Bola, what would you say is one thing that you unapologetically splurge on?
Handbags. Handbags.
I love it. You said it without hesitation.
Yeah, I'm a handbag girl. If you know me, you follow Clever Girl Finance, or you know me in my personal life, I love a good designer handbag. That's my thing.
You know what, Bola? I am so happy that you said that. One of my topics and questions that I wanted to talk about is when people normally talk personal finance, whether you like or don't like, let's say the FIRE community, I don't want to get eaten up by them. It's like you can't be a responsible woman or fiscally savvy if you like to indulge in luxuries, which to me is completely asinine. So I wanted to get to that. So I'm so happy that you, unprompted, answered with one of my favorite, I don't even call them vices. I mean, they appreciate and value.
Well, that's a whole different, it's a whole different
You said, wait a minute, girl, I didn't say all that. I said I like
that. I just said I like the handbags.
Okay, fine.
The value is a whole other topic.
Okay. Well, Bola, I know your backstory or what's publicly available, and you are the youngest of 4, the only girl, and I loved your story and how much respect that you have in relationship with your family. So if someone has been living under a rock and they don't know, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background and how that inspired Clever Girl Finance.
Yes, and I'll try to keep it brief, just, so it doesn't become the whole podcast.
Yeah.
But really, I'll start with what led me to Clever Girl Finance, and it was just I'm originally from Nigeria. I consider myself a first generation immigrant, so I moved here with my family. I wasn't born here. I was born in Europe, but migrated here to go to college. My parents left Nigeria. We all left Nigeria at different points just because of economic circumstances back then. Things were not great. And I got to a point where I was here and I was in college. My mother had really hustled to help me get through college. She was paying for it out of pocket, working, doing all kinds of different jobs before she became a nurse. While she was getting her nursing degree, working as a babysitter, working as all kinds of things, childminder, etc. And it wasn't because, she didn't have anything better to do with her money. It was because my dad had to retire 14 years earlier than planned, or 15 years earlier than planned. He had been retired in Nigeria. And at the time, colleges were taking like 5 to 7 years. I had cousins who were in university for 7 years just because the colleges would go on strike and they would come back for a couple months and go on strike. And it just wasn't an ideal situation. And so my parents were like, okay, we're going to send you abroad to go to college. And my mom was also migrating here around that time. And my mom said, I will try to support you while you're there. You're going to look for scholarships. And so the first part of me being in college, she was supporting me from Nigeria. And then she migrated here and started helping me pay for my college education between here while I was in the States and while I was in Europe. And like I said, it wasn't because she had the money. It was because I didn't qualify for any student loans as an international student. There was no one to borrow the money from.
Right.
And the only way to find the money was to work for it. So I took longer than average to graduate from college. So most people graduate from college in 4 years. That's the average 4-year college degree. And it took me 5.5 years to graduate for my 4-year college degree. And so coming out of college, I wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted to be able to get this job, start making money. And when I got out of college and started making money, I realized there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I didn't know about the 401k. I didn't know much about investing. I didn't know much about credit, especially the American system. And I just felt really challenged by that. And I knew I wanted to do well because also growing up, I remember I would be in my living room in our house before my dad got retired and we had to downsize our whole lives. I would be in our living room and there would be occasions where my mom would have friends who would come to our house and they would come with their suitcases and their children and they needed somewhere to stay. And our house was the only place they could go to. And they were coming there because either their husbands were being abusive or the husband had passed away and they had nowhere to go and the family has come in and taken over everything and had pushed them out. And I remember sitting there looking at these people. I'm like, wow, these women, I'm like, wow, I can't believe they don't have any other option but to come to my mom's house. And my mom had got married very young. She was 19 years old when she got married. My dad was in his 30s. And I remember watching her support her friends. But at the same time, I could tell it was churning in the back of her mind that she never wanted to find herself in this situation. So as I was growing up, my mom she would console her friends, but she got married with a high school diploma and she was adamant that she needed to go back to school to get her college degree. So after having 4 children, my mom went to college in her 30s. And she basically got her college degree, went on to get a master's, went on to work and do all kinds of different side hustles before she eventually migrated here and then had to start over like many immigrants do, working all kinds of odd jobs before you get yourself back on your feet because your degrees don't necessarily translate into over to the United States. So that's a little bit all over the place, but it kind of gives you some, I guess, context about where I'm coming from, why I'm passionate about what I do. And where my interest from, I guess, financial wellness for women comes from.
Yes, and I love the story. There's so many different lessons within that. I find that a lot of times women, regardless of hardly educated, and sometimes, especially once you reach a certain age, this society makes us feel like if you don't have it all together by, say, 30, it's something to be ashamed of. But I love with your story and with your mother's story that whether it took you 3 years or 5 years to graduate, whether you decided to matriculate at 18 or in her case, after she had her children and family, she still got it done. So can you talk about how that translates into the work that you do and the people that you work with, whether it's one-on-one or within your community? a message to women that you should not feel any bit of shame whatsoever in terms of where you are in your financial journey?
I think what you said is really important. That there's a lot of stuff that is tied to age, and I think there's a lot of standards that are associated to who we should be by what age, especially because of social media. Right? Everybody seems to be thriving on social media. Everybody's 25 and a billionaire, and has the most successful business, and their kids are perfect. Their marriage is perfect on social media. But my mom, like I said, she got married at 19. She didn't get her undergraduate degree until she was in her 30s. She went on to get her master's in her late 30s, 40s. And then my mom went on to start a whole nother career in her 50s, which was becoming a nurse when she moved here. And she didn't get her nursing degree until she was in her mid 50s, right? So talk about starting over. And so it's not about the age, it's about your willingness to want to do well and your willingness to be able to pick yourself up when life happens and just not wanting to give up. For someone like my mom, who was so accomplished, who had, she had all these kids, gotten her undergrad degree, gotten her master's degree, was working in investment banking in Nigeria, had all these businesses, to move to another country and be working as a babysitter, be working, doing odd jobs, and then having to start school all over again. That in itself is so demotivating. It can be so discouraging, where you feel like you don't even want to do anything. You just want to be part of the system. Right. And so wherever you are starting from, as long as you have the intention that you want to do better, because, there are times in your life where you're always going to have to start over. It could be you get laid off, you go through a divorce, loss of a loved one, whatever. Life throws all kinds of things at you. You just have to have that willingness to want to succeed. It's not an age thing. People succeed at all different ages of life. I was having a conversation with my friend recently about successful businesses, and there were people that were talking about who started businesses in their 50s and 60s that we actually did not realize. And there's a statistic that we were talked about the average business founder. You think because of social media and the internet that it's like a 20-something year old. The average business owner starting a business is 45 years old. So, as long as you have the willingness and you have the intention to succeed, as long as you're willing to put one foot in front of the other and give yourself patience, right? Because sometimes starting over or rebuilding is difficult, or improving your finances can be hard, paying off debt can be hard. As long as you have that intention, you can do whatever you put your heart to.
You said more than just a mouthful, Bola. There's so much, my mind is like ding, 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 ding. Like so much of that resonates with me. And it's interesting. I have to catch myself falling into the comparison trap, which is the thief of joy. And it's like, I know that, but it's this catch-22. You take a break from social media, but then fortunately or unfortunately, social media is such a powerful tool if you use it for business, for example. I mean, it's like, you kind of know what the pulse is of what's going on by logging on. But then some people may judge someone like me, for example, who's a geriatric millennial. I look at women.
What does that even mean? A geriatric millennial.
Yeah. Someone told me that a couple months ago, and I was like, damn, I'm offended, but you know what? I'm going to accept it. I'm a geriatric millennial. And, if you were to ask me 10 years ago where I saw my life now, I would have this beautiful family, my husband, my portfolio will have a couple more zeros in it, and I would be maybe recording this from the Maldives, just chilling and popping back up when I feel like it. But I still have to run a business. I still have to grind, even though I do like what I do. So it's a lot of things. Not comparing yourself. I think keeping your ego in check is super important, because it's so easy. Like you said, I respect so much. Your mom came over. She was highly educated, highly accomplished, and to have to start over or pivot and still have the tenacity to keep going and not say, you know what, I'm too good for this. But no, you have to get it done is one thing, and to keep your eyes on the prize. So it's a mindset thing, which is my next question, Bola. I strongly believe that wealth building is just as much of a mindset exercise as it is the actual technical steps. So can you talk to me about, I know this is such an open-ended question, but I want to get into wealth building, not just from the technical side, but the money mindset side. Like, what do you see most in your work, and what are some myths that you want to dispel about wealth building in general?
That is an open-ended question. So wealth building, I mean, I don't know. I think it's very subjective to what you deem as wealth, right? So in the culture I come from, wealth is not just money, right? That's how I'm named. So my full name is Mojibola, and it means I was born into wealth. And when sometimes people hear that, oh, your parents are so money focused, I'm like, that's not, it's far from the truth. Like, that's not what it means. It means like wealth where I come from means, it means peace of mind, it means joy, it means happiness, it means good health, it means like an abundance of all these things that make you live a good life. It goes well beyond money. And so that's why I say wealth is subjective, right? And money is a tool, really outside of your health. Money is a tool that helps you achieve certain things in your health to a certain degree, right? There's aspects of your health that money just can't buy. But it helps you achieve those things that would allow you to consider yourself wealthy, right? Like you can use money to buy security, buy a safe home. You can use money to have impact in your community. You can use money to have the best education, to take care of your family, to create a life of comfort, and to do what you truly want to do. So it really is dependent on what that truly means to you. I think that's what people really need to get clear on first when they start to think about wanting to build wealth and achieve whatever they deem is financial success in their own minds. What does it truly mean to you? Because when you're clear on what it means to you, then you're more motivated to stay consistent, to go out and seek it. Because we all know that you don't build wealth overnight. It takes time. It takes years for most people, right? For the average person, it takes several years to build wealth. And you have to have that tenacity for it. You have to be motivated for it. You have to be, when distractions come, when life happens, when setback happens, you have to still be able to pick yourself up and go after it. And that then ties into the way you think about this, right? Why do I want this? Why do I deserve this? What does this mean to me? Is this worth all this energy, all this time, all this effort, all this stress, all these tears? Is it worth it? And your mind is going to play tricks on you because your mind is many times going to want to find the easy way out of a situation. Like, YOLO, listen, just go buy the shoes, just go hang out with your friends. No one in your family has ever done this. Why do you think you're ever going to be debt free? Blame it on the government, blame it on the IRS, blame it on the system, blame it on the fact that you're a Black, blame it, right? I mean, there are certain factors that hold people back, but there's also examples after example of people who have broken past those factors and have succeeded. And there are many, many, many examples of those. So why can't you be one of the people that makes a difference and does things differently to achieve wealth for yourself? So it's this: number one, defining what wealth means to you. Number two, determining how bad you want it. And number three, getting really clear on your why, right? Why do I want this thing? Because that's what's going to keep you going when life is happening, when distractions are happening, when demotivation is happening. You have to have a why. And that why is going to help you adjust your mindset. And the other thing about mindset is that it's not something that you just say, oh, I decide to do this and it's done.
Right.
Your mindset is like a muscle. You have to constantly maintain it. You have to keep it in shape. You have to, keep it optimized, right? It's like when you work out, if you don't work out for months, you're not going to reap any benefits of your six pack or your abs or your muscle tone, none of that. And so with your mindset, what are you consuming that's helping you maintain your mindset towards your goal of building wealth? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What words are you speaking over yourself, or what words are coming out of your mouth? What words are you letting other people speak over you? Who is influencing you? What are the things that are surrounding you or you're surrounding yourself with that are influencing your mindset in terms of you being able to achieve your goals or not being able to achieve your goals?
I wholeheartedly agree. I was going to say, if you can't pinpoint what your why is, it's so easy to let distractions and challenges, which are inevitable in life, just derail you. And the why has to be beyond, okay, I want to pay off this
$100 million.
or something, which is fine. You can reach that 9 figures, but I think it
No,
needs
but it's not. It has to be beyond. I want $100 million because then, okay, you want $100, and so what?
Right. For what? I agree. So, Bola, what do you say to people? And this is where I'm going to get kind of into my little personal tea. As I'm out here trying to find perhaps a mister, I found, once you start dating and get to know people a little bit better, and maybe I ask way too soon, maybe that's my problem, that's what you're going to say. I'm a very straightforward type of person. Like I said, if I'm going to be a geriatric millennial, 1 year shy of half of 80, I don't have time to try to figure out what you got going on fiscally, or what's your mindset economically and financially too far down. So I have found that some men do not have the right mindset and they blame it on, hey, well, I grew up disadvantaged or I grew up poor and I'm so afraid of going back there that they have this severe scarcity mindset and are not thinking abundantly. This is not across the board, but that's something that I grow frustrated with because I feel like regardless of how you started or where you come from, like you said, to exercise a muscle, to me, that has nothing to do with your current mindset. So when you come across people like this who are like, no, there's a difference between being cheap and frugal. If you want to be a cheapo, you can go left. I'm frugal, but like Bola, I love handbags. If it makes sense, I want to book a first class flight. I want to be comfortable. I want to live in a neighborhood where my future children go to a good school. I don't want to have to worry about bang, bang, bang break-ins. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with aspiring for wealth, but it comes to a mindset. So, Bola, without me throwing indirect shade to randoms out there,
So this is a loaded question.
what are
I
your
mean,
thoughts on this?
listen, each and every one of us, especially as Black kids, Black women, Black men, we've all grown up with our own forms of childhood trauma, childhood issues. There's no Black person you can talk to that doesn't have some sort of story they can tell you about where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's something in your family, there's something in your childhood, there's something you can talk about. Both of my parents are first generation everything. First to go to grade school, first to go to high school, first to go to college. Okay, my grandparents were uneducated. My dad has a twin sister who cannot formally read or write. My dad has 2 PhDs, and that's because my grandfather did not believe in female education. So everybody has a story, a trauma, a something they can bring to the table. But I believe that you get to a point where you're an adult that you have to recognize, do I want to carry this as a burden with me all my life? Or do I want to do things differently, right? I come from a poverty background. My parents do not come from wealthy backgrounds, both of them. They both come from very, very poor backgrounds, and they decided to make something of themselves. And I could have been like, oh, this is good enough for me. I'm just going to be okay with my regular corporate job, and I'm just going to build my 401k and just be okay. But for me, I wanted more. So you get to a point where you have to decide, like, are you okay where you are? Or do you want more for yourself? Do you want to do things differently? My dad's prayer for his children was always that his children would do better than he has.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my prayer for my children, that they will excel beyond what I have excelled at, right? And so, but that's a choice, right? I cannot force my children to want to pursue bigger ambitions. But as adults, they get to a point where you have to sit and have a candid conversation with yourself. This baggage, this trauma, this whatever it is, at what point do I need to let this go? Do I need to deal with this? Do I need to, if I'm going to carry it along with it, how do I make sure that it doesn't become the companion that's so loud and it just keeps quiet and sits there, right? And then just in terms of like the partner you choose, I mean, again, my dad always told me growing up, don't ever marry a liability and don't ever be a liability on somebody else. And there's just some things that I don't compromise on. And when I was dating before I married my husband, it was never about, oh, how much money do you have now, right? What can you buy for me? I was always looking for someone that had that healthy mindset about, who do you think you can become? What do you think you can achieve, right? So my husband's a physician, and when I met him, he had multiple 6 figures of student loans. He had a lot. He was deep, multiple 6 figures of student loans. It was deep in debt, okay?
And Bola's being nice, deep in debt.
Conversations with him were not like, oh, I cannot date you because you have all these student loans. I'm like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your goals? What are your ambitions? How do you imagine yourself, right? Those are the kind of conversations I wanted to have. I mean, I dated guys that would say things like, oh, you're too ambitious. I can never marry somebody like you. And I was like, I could never marry somebody like you. You lack ambition. And so I think, like, if you are having conversations with somebody who, and you're in the early stages and they just don't seem like they want to be motivated, then maybe you really need to think about, what do you want for yourself? And does this person align with the path that you're trying to pursue? Or are they going to hold you back? Because if you're in that space where you really have this goal for yourself, you have this why for yourself, and you're going to tie yourself to this person, is that relationship going to last long term? Are you going to end up resenting that person? Will you end up staying together, right? And so it's really, I guess sometimes emotion gets in the way, but it's really being able to get clear on what is truly meaningful to you. Like, I've dated a guy who was, I in my mind I felt like he was jealous of me. And I'm like, if I'm dating someone that I want to build a life with, that I consider my partner, why would you be jealous of me? Like, I bought my first house. He came, he looked around like, and then in the middle of me trying to close on that apartment, knowing that I had the money, not apartment, condo, knowing I had the money for that down payment, he said, "Oh, can you loan me $10,000?"
You,
I was like, "Wait, what? Excuse me."
I was going to say X.
Okay.
Next.
So I shouldn't close on my condo so I can loan you $10,000 that you think you're gonna give me next week, that I know you ain't never gonna give me again. No. And by the way, let's just break up. Let's just call it quits. Right here, right now, we are done.
Close on the condo, close on the
And
relationship.
close the whole thing. Close.
Marriage, and I'm obviously not an expert, so I'm going to defer to you, is a partnership. Obviously, you need to love your partner, respect your partner, all these things. But I think that we would be remiss if we didn't focus on not only their mindset of where are you going? Like, what is your plan, not only for your life, or how do you see me fitting into that plan? Do you respect me? There are so many people, and you touched upon it. It's like you're reading my past history. The same things that attract them to you, they find themselves jealous of. It's the craziest thing. Like, they respect you for how accomplished you are. You're a beautiful woman. You have your life together, doing all these things. And then when they get with you, those same things, I guess, make them feel insecure. I don't know. Not
That's not
all,
the
but
right person. Yeah, that's not, because how are you ever gonna be a team if your partner is jealous or envious of you because you got a promotion, all of a sudden you earn more? Like, you should be happy because now your team is gonna be able to do bigger and better things, and that should even motivate you to go out and do more.
that's what you would think. But okay, we closed on him. And so as you're going through this process and you find your prince or king, or I don't know, people be like, hey, king. I don't know why people be saying that. But anyway, no, I'm not going to say that. But in your courting and dating phases, so what are some characteristics that you looked for in your now partner?
So I would definitely say that it was just someone that didn't feel challenged by me. Like, I know who I am, and I know I've always been a go-getter. Like, one of my biggest fears is being broke and not being able to take care of myself. Again, I get this from that observation with my mom. My mom's friends. And I guess it's something that I saw as a little child, and I was like, that would never be me. I'm never going to be in anybody's living room because I have no options with my suitcases and my children, because I have no options. I'm always going to have options. I don't, and my dad always told me, never be a liability on anybody else. Not only should you never marry a liability, you yourself don't ever be a liability on that person, And my dad he would always say that over and over again, right? And so I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much money you're going to make in the future. I'm going to work. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to do what I need to do to make myself feel comfortable about where I need to be in my mind and in real life, right? And so just the fact that he just never challenged me and he just supported me, and it was never like, oh, so like just situations that you hear about, like someone who's working, and I have people tell me, they will say things like, oh, well, so you're going to keep doing this when we have kids.
That's how you met me.
I mean, we did have some of those challenges, like when we went to premarital counseling, that had to do with how he was raised, but we came back to the same page. So he was very supportive. He didn't challenge me. He was not jealous of me. It was just like a good team. And I like the fact that he was ambitious. And he also, because I also come from a place of scarcity mindset, right? Because that idea of never wanting to be broke is scarcity, in the sense of, I believe that I may never have enough. But then when I
Mm.
have so much, I don't recognize it. So there'll be times when it's time to make, like, I know how to spend money. I can spend money.
We don't have any problems there. Me neither.
But there are certain times, there are certain instances where my scarcity mindset will catch up on me, and I'll feel challenged to spend money, like buying our house, or, and I'm like, oh my god, and he's like, what is wrong with you? You're, like so there's.
Um,
Well, he kind of helps me. He has a very, like, he's very like, this is who I'm going to be. This is how much I'm going to make. This is where I see myself. And and some guys are like that in the sense that sometimes they can be very overconfident in that.
right.
I get that you see yourself as a future billionaire, but guess what? We still are deep in debt right now.
You will
let's
not
not,
let him know.
let's not act like it. Let's not act like it yet.
I love the vision, but you also need to be
Yes.
pragmatic. But I love the visionary part.
So he's almost like my yin to my yang. Whereas when I'm having like resistance,
Mhm.
especially like for me, my scarcity mindset, and I would say that it combines with imposter syndrome. When something
Mm.
big is about to happen, then it's like, oh, like, hey girl, who do you think you are? Why do you think you can do that? Why do you think, and he's like, what are you talking about? You're already here.
Oh, I love, so he's so supportive because sorry,
Yes. So
yeah.
he helps to balance that out. And I remember when we were doing our premarital counseling, when we sat with the pastor, and the pastor was like, oh, how do you imagine yourself after you have kids? And we knew we wanted to have kids, but we had never really talked about, oh, how do you actually imagine this life is going to be with kids? And he said something like he imagined that I was going to stay at home and take care of the kids, and he was going to take care of his family because he wants to be a provider. And I was like, hell no. You
Okay.
can be a provider if you want to, but I'm not going to stay home
See,
and
now,
not be able
Bola.
to provide for myself. But that's just how I was raised. Don't be a liability.
Right, right. That I love that. Don't be a liability, and I damn sure am not
It's like
marrying a
ingrained in my
liability.
bloodstream.
I mean, like, right. I mean, that if we extract, right. I mean, if we ran the DNA test that says do not be a liability,
And
which I love. I may name this episode "Don't Be a Liability."
so that was challenging because he was like, well, that's how he was raised. I'm like, I love that you were raised like that, but I'm always going to work. I'm always going to have something going on. I'm just not going to be that person that is home waiting for you to provide. I'm also going to provide for myself. Thank you.
I heard so much in this, Bola, and I'm sure anyone listening will be like, this girl has what I'm looking for, a woman rather, what I'm looking for. But it obviously stems back to, I completely agree. I never want to be in a situation where who knows what. So I don't care how much they say that they love you. I don't know. Something can happen the next day and I'm out in the cold. And like you mentioned, the stories of your mom's friends using you all like an Airbnb in some sense. However, I love the fact that he loves to provide. That is so rare, especially in, I find, American culture. You
And
don't
I do,
find those
yes,
sort of,
I do appreciate that about my husband.
okay.
He is a provider, and like, when like, he has never debated me on that. We're not a 50-50
Oh, say it, Bola.
marriage.
Say it
He,
again.
he has never said, where is where is your half? Where is your check? Where is your he's never said that. But for me, being able to provide and being able to contribute in the way the bills that I pay in our household are by choice. What I contribute to our household is, and we're a team, we're building together, right? And I make my own money, right? So that's a given. But it's my security blanket, right? I could easily say, what, I'm not, what clever girl finance, what business, let me just be at home and let this guy go out and provide and come and take care of his family. I could very easily do that, but that's not what I want. That's not who I am. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not who I am, right? And so I'm glad to be married to somebody like that. But also, this is something that I teach my daughter, right? It's not about how much money you have. It's not about who wants to provide for you. It's about you being able to have that security in yourself, that
Mm-hmm.
I've got me. I can take care of me. I'm okay whether you're here or not here. And I think back to my mom's friends. Like, me and my husband, we have financial transparency. Like, I'm very much like, we're each other's power of attorney. There's a lot of transparency here. But I think about my mom's friends who they were married to providers
Mm.
who fully provided for their lives, and then something changed, a divorce, abusive, and then it's like, now get the hell out. And it's like, oh, I have nothing.
You make an excellent point. And it could just be something happens to their business or something happens to them and you have
Exactly.
nothing. So,
My dad was a provider, right? And
mhm.
my mom got married at a high school certificate to someone who was much older, who was a provider. And if the tables turned to the point where eventually, decades later, my mom became the breadwinner of our family because my dad's financial situation changed so drastically.
Mhm.
And not because, my dad made financial decisions that were great and some were not great. He prioritized my brother's education, which was very, very, very expensive, especially because he was changing currencies.
Mm.
And life happened, health situations, like this is life. This is
Life,
life, and there are
oh,
many,
trust me,
many
life be lifing.
instances where people go through different financial challenges, and
Mhm.
you're lucky if one of you can step up to support the relationship, or both of you can step up to support the relationship and the household. That's great.
See, Vola, I see so like I never thought I would be so I knew I was going to be inspired, but I see so much of myself in you in terms of the structure of the household that you aspire and that you have been blessed to attain. But I still, as much as I definitely don't want to be in any 50-50 relationship, can never even see myself. My personality will not allow me just to sit. And it has nothing to do with, oh, this person is saying, girl, where's your half? Did you transfer it to the joint account? Hey, girl, leave me alone. But I need to be doing something. My mind, like I feel better. I feel more like myself when I'm working on things. So it's a personality trait. The ambition is not going anywhere. So and the
Yeah,
pragmatic side is
this is how he met me. Like I'm the same. This is the same person when you met me. I was hustling. I was working, running my business, my side hustles. Like,
and you're still doing it.
yeah,
Which
that's just who I am.
see, I love it. It's so unapologetic. He's not intimidated by you. He's not
No,
threatened
not
by
at all.
Bola because I can see how a lot of men, even though you're probably, like I said, so regal, so feminine, but you are a nonsense type of woman. Like I can tell. There's no way you would have been able to build up your business and your brand to the level that it is today if you were. So it takes a very special, like you said, yin to your yang, supportive. He grounds you back when when you start spiraling out of control and the scarcity starts to creep up. So that's so important to have that in a life partner. Speaking of your business, Bola, I know that you have something very special. I can't believe we're already in October, coming out in about 6 weeks. So, can you share
Yes,
how your empire is expanding?
my empire. Yes. So I have two new books coming out. So the first book is something I'm really excited about. It's the first workbook for Clever Girl Finance, and it's called My Wealth Plan, and is essentially the companion to all the books in the Clever Girl Finance series. And it's just basically a guide to help you build your wealth plan. And it talks about financial foundations, investing, career, side hustling, mindset, motivation, even relationships and partnerships with
Yeah, I knew I had to write some notes.
your special person. And then the second book is the updated and expanded version of my very first book. So that book I think came out. I wrote it 7 years ago, but it was released 6 years ago in 2018. So that's been a really popular book. It's been a bestseller. And so I updated that, expanded it, and I'm excited to, it's being re-released on November 13th. Both are coming out November 13th. And so again, this is just, it's expanded to make it more relevant for 6 years later. It doesn't seem like a long period of time, but so much has happened. There's been a pandemic. We're in the age of influencers, buy now, pay later. The landscape of debt has changed, and so I talk about all of that in the book as well. So those are the two new books. They're available for pre-order. I would appreciate your support. Everywhere books are sold. My Wealth Plan and Clever Girl Finance, Ditch Debt, Save Money, and Build Real Wealth.
I am so excited, and I on Amazon. I saw last night, right?
Yes.
So yes, no, I'm super excited for you. So Bola, you said a lot too. You said 6 years ago how the landscape has changed. I feel like the more things stay the same, the more they change. So can you name certain things? Give us like a little teaser in terms of whether it's debt strategy or wealth building strategy, relationships that you saw when you first wrote the first version pre Rona, And now here we are nearly in 2025, which is wild.
I think back in 2018, 2019, we like there were influencers, but we were not being heavily influenced. Now there is, and there's nothing wrong with the influencers. I love a good influencer. I have my fashion girlies on Instagram, my cooking girlies. Like, people will say I'm a financial influencer.
I was going to say Bola.
Sure.
I'm not an influencer. What?
Okay, great. And it's not the individuals, it is just the outcome of the influence, because you then aspire to become what necessarily was never in your reach to begin with, right? So, for example, we see, I don't know, let me use Beyonce as an example. We see Beyonce on Instagram, we see her on YouTube, we see her on TikTok. I'm just making this up. And we feel like, oh my God, Beyonce is that girl next door. She's wearing Dolce & Gabbana. I can wear Dolce & Gabbana. She's wearing Gucci. She's wearing Prada. I can wear, and she put the price and she put the link. I can buy all these things. And then she's so relatable and so casual about it and so down to earth. We forget Beyonce is a multi-billionaire, millionaire, and we still have to go to work at 9 o'clock every morning and come back at 5 o'clock. But we are buying the same wardrobe that she is buying.
Right.
That she's linked to us in all these places. And every week she has a whole new wardrobe. Every week she has a whole new unboxing. Every week. And it's not just Beyonce. We like Beyonce. We also like Taylor Swift. We also like Cardi B. We also like, and they're all doing the same thing to us over and over again. And before we know it, our wardrobes are bigger than all these women combined.
And our bank accounts don't match.
Yeah. And then not only that, when we click the link, it's like, well, just buy this now and pay later. Everybody buy now, pay later. And then we have all these debts all out in the world because we bought now, we're paying later. And it's like, well, how do we save anymore? And then the outfit Beyonce wore last week is now out of fashion this week because it's animal print this week. And then next week it's like burgundy. And next week it's like, it's so much to keep up with. So, it's overwhelming.
It is insanely overwhelming. That's why when people say you have the same 24 hours as Beyonce, technically
actually,
I do. Don't. But Beyonce has
You actually do not. You know why? Okay. Because in Beyonce's 24 hours, she has a chef, she has a stylist, she has a hairdresser, she has a babysitter, she has someone who comes to do her nails in her bed. Okay? You do not. Beyonce has 24 hours times 25 people.
Beyonce, exactly. She has the 24 hours of the 25 people who are.
Yeah, you ain't got to say 24 hours.
Thank you. That's why it's like, it's not about me being lazy. She's not even posting. Beyonce is not interacting. She's exactly on her burner, but still, like, I love Beyonce, but still, no, I do not have that same 24 hours. I aspire to have my 24 people and using and leveraging their 24 hours, but I'm not there yet. Now, Bola, let's get a little more technical too. So everyone talks about paying down debt. Ideally, I mean, at least for me, I would love to increase my net worth and eliminate every bit of debt, good or bad debt. So what strategies do you have? And I know it depends on where someone is starting from. So let's just assume, all right, let's use 32-year-old, let's name her Melissa. She's, I don't know, mid-career and she's done with her student loan debt. I would love your expertise if you were talking to 32-year-old Melissa who wants to be on the path to accumulate wealth at a healthy pace. I mean, that's all relative to how ambitious you are, and minimize her debt.
Mm-hmm. So I would definitely say it's possible, right? But I think a lot of people need to remove the sensationalism away from wealth building. And I get it. Everybody wants to get wealthy quickly. And I think social media has contributed to this idea of you must be rich fast. Crypto fast, crypto money fast, overnight fast, build your business, hustle, rich fast.
Yes.
It's okay to go slow. It's okay to take your time. It's okay to build wealth in paces. But I think the strategy here is most important. And having that strategy in place is almost like a sense of security. The first thing you need to do is make sure you have a secure income, right? So make sure you're earning money. If you don't have a job, you want to find this job, either start your side hustle to bring money in, start downsizing things, selling things in your home that you don't need, you don't use, but you want to have this income because your income is the foundation. Having money coming in is foundation to helping you build that wealth. Secondly, you want to create a plan for debt, right? So what is your debt? Where is it all coming from? Is it a car note, a personal loan, a credit card? Organize this debt, put it on a spreadsheet, and determine how much you owe to whom and what is the interest rate. What is your most expensive debt by interest rate? What is your cheapest debt? What is your highest balance? What is your lowest balance? Then you pick a strategy. Okay, I'm going to pay off the lowest balance first, which means every month I'm going to pay more than the minimum to that lowest balance until it's gone. Or I'm going to pay off the debt that's costing me the most, which is a debt that has the highest interest. And every month I'm going to pay as much more than the minimum as I can to that debt until it's gone, and then just pay the minimum to all the rest. Once your priority one debt is gone, you're going to take all that extra money and put it to each of the other debts. That is the strategy you can use to start paying down your debt. And sometimes debt payments can take months to years, right? The more you pay in excess of your minimum payment, the quicker you get out of the debt. Minimum payments don't do you any favors. Credit card companies, loan companies, they want you to pay the minimum payments because by law, that is the amount of money they are allowed to charge you in order to earn the maximum amount of interest from you as the product. You are the product that's making them money. So when they offer you a minimum payment, it means that, yes, girl, pay this minimum payment so that we can maximize how much interest we earn from you. Every dollar you pay on top of that minimum is you accelerating getting out of that debt. So number one priority, pay more than the minimum to your number one priority debt. That's key. Secondly, you want to invest because you cannot save your way to wealth. Because of inflation, money loses value when it's just sitting in your account. Yes, you want to have an amount of money in the account for emergencies. So if you don't have any savings, aim to get about $1,500 to $1,500 in the account, because this can cover putting food on the table for a month. It can cover utilities for a month. It can cover a car repair, new tires, emergency plane ticket. It can cover those little basics for 1 month, right? The things that you need to get done, as long as you have a job coming in. Once you have that $1,500 in there, build it into your budget that every 2 weeks when you get paid, you're going to put certain amount of money in a savings account for emergencies until you get to 3 to 6 months of your core living expenses. And those core living expenses are not like getting your hair done, going out to eat, travel. This is food to keep your belly full, transportation to get to work, to find a job, housing, utilities, electricity, water, any medicines your household need. Those are your core expenses. Everything else, when push comes to shove and you really need to survive, you don't need those other things. You're fine. We figured it out during the pandemic. You can figure it out again, right? So, and then if your employer offers you retirement savings, 401k, take advantage of it. Take advantage of the match. If they don't offer you one, open your own Roth IRA, your own traditional IRA, and start investing. Open your own brokerage account and put what you can afford in there after you have paid extra money towards your debt. I always tell people that it's important to save and invest at the same time, because when you're just focused on, it's important to pay off debt and invest at the same time, because when you're just focused on paying off debt and you're not contributing to your 401k, you're not contributing to your IRA, you're not taking advantage of your employer's match, that is lost opportunity of time. That is lost opportunity for appreciation, for compounding, to earn dividends. And that is time that you cannot get back. And while you invest, your money grows over time through compounding, dividends, and appreciation. So yes, we're prioritizing paying off debt, but at the very minimum, you want to be contributing to your employer's retirement accounts or opening your own retirement accounts and contributing what you can afford to contribute and get whatever match your employer offers you. So that's the advice I would give her. And then think about ways that you can accelerate increasing your income. Because a lot of times you hear people say, oh, budget, cut back. But I also believe that, there's an emotional side to finances, and it can be very demotivating to feel like all you're doing is going to work to earn money and paying bills, and you cannot enjoy yourself. You can't do anything. You can't do your hair. You can't go out to eat. And what happens is that people tend to fall off their plans when they feel like they're being punished.
Right.
You can only cut back to a certain point. You get to a point where you can't cut back anymore. You have to live somewhere. You have to drive something. You have to eat something, right? You want to do your hair. You want to buy your coffee. You want to get your nails done every now and then. That is fine. So, you get to that point. Okay, I've cut back everything I need to cut back. The next thing I want you to think about is, how can I make more money? How can I make more money? Do you have things sitting in your closet that you don't need? You can put on Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, your garage, the Peloton you bought in the pandemic, you only rode twice. That's a couple $1,000s you can sell. Your kids' closet. Kids grow things so quickly. Strollers, baby cribs, food processors, appliances in your kitchen. Everybody bought an espresso machine during the pandemic. Do you use yours?
I have to react. Yes. That is fabulous advice. And Melissa, I hope you're listening. And I kind of touched upon this in the beginning, but I kind of cut you off. I want to hear your full thoughts on this. Why is it that it seemingly the internet is so triggered whenever they see Black women enjoying luxury? So I completely agree in terms of you want to scale back. And to your point, for me, you can't build wealth by cutting back. There's only so much you can cut back. You have to generate more income or revenue. Like, there's no way around it. So let's just say now Melissa, she's 10 years older. She hit the stride. She's in her 40s. To your point, the statistic, the average founder is 45. And I strongly believe whether you're corporate or entrepreneur, when you get in your 40s, that's when you're really doing it. It's not necessarily in your 20s unless you're a professional athlete or an entertainer. So I found a lot of times in the crazy comment section that you got to stay away from, don't you dare see somebody unbox their Kelly bag or their new Chanel or a pair of YSL shoes or something because, oh my gosh, you can't afford it. You need to live below your means, even though do you have access to my brokerage account or my bank account? Or like, why are you checking for me like this? Why are Black women policed so much when it comes to luxury spending? Bola.
I find that so aggravating. I have also experienced that. And I don't get what is. I think maybe people are still used to seeing Black women as the help and also envisioning themselves in that help position because there are also Black women who judge Black women for this. I'm not sure what it is, but I think that it's important that we learn how to embrace in our own community the ownership mentality. It's okay that we are successful, we do well, there are wealthy. I mean, we didn't see it growing up, not a lot. I mean, especially here in the US. But there are, I remember I used to live here as a little girl in Albany with my mom when she came here a long time ago for a degree. And I didn't see a lot of wealthy Black women, but now there are, right? The world is changing and it's fine. We should be in those spaces because Black women work really, really hard. And I think that judgment that we place upon each other is not okay. I think maybe there's some self-reflection that is required. And I think the rest of the world just needs to get used to seeing Black women win. It's not always a rich husband or I remember a while ago when I first started my business and I talked about saving $100,000 out of college in 3 years. Mind you, this is in some regard is a big feat, but in many regards it's $100,000 in 3 years. I cannot retire on $100,000. It took me 3 years to save this money. And there was another platform who posted that I was a trust fund baby. Maybe I had a rich boyfriend. Maybe my physician husband gave me the money.
Sometimes I'm like, I wish. Where he at?
Yeah. No, we work really hard. It's okay, as long as you're doing it within reason. If you want to have a Kelly bag, you want to have a Chanel bag, and this is what you plan to do, is perfectly fine. Nobody's out there policing men about their watches or their cars. And just because you have blue eyes and blonde hair and you unbox a bag doesn't make you more likely to afford it than me, with my darker skin and my dark hair. So just get used to it, right? And stop trying to be in other people's pockets. Focus on your own pocket, your own bank account. If the person that's unboxing in debt is in debt, let that be her problem. She has to pay that debt.
That has nothing to do with you.
Get used to Black women being successful. There's many of us, and deal with it. It just is what it is, and be unapologetic about it. There's no shame in being wealthy. I want to see more Black women win. I want to see more Black women being successful. I want to see more Black women on big stages. I don't want to see more Black women with designer bags, dressed well from head to toe, looking good. Like, wow, who is she? I want to see more of that. Get used to it. We're not the help. We're not the mammies. This is dead and gone. That era is done with.
Bola, I love you even more. Thank you. Mic drop. On that note, Bola, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already I feel like this could have been a part 5. For people who are listening or watching and I know are like, oh my gosh, I love Bola even more now, or I'm just discovering her, how can they find you online to follow you and your work?
Yes, you can find me clevergirlfinance.com, all social media, Clever Girl Finance. I'm on LinkedIn as Bola Sokunbi, so you can find me there as well.
Bola, this has been absolutely amazing. I didn't even get to asking you what books you're reading. Obviously, she's reading her own book.
I'm reading
Oh.
this book, The 5 a.m. Club.
Oh,
I'm about a quarter in. My friend recommended to me. She felt it was very embellished, but I'm actually enjoying it. It's about owning your mornings, creating new processes to help you succeed. I like it so far.
I'm adding that. Like, I have a list of books.
It's very like the story is very like over the top, but it's good. I like it.
Wait, so this is fiction or nonfiction?
It's nonfiction, but the writer is writing it using fictional characters.
Okay.
To create the idea of this 5 a.m. club.
Oh, I mean, because I love self-help books, and I told myself, let me try to read something that's actually fiction for once. So when you said it was over the top.
Oh, fiction. Yeah, fiction. I can't tell you what to read right now. Fiction.
Yeah, I'm not. That's just, I read self-help business books, productivity
fiction,
books.
I like fantasy stuff. So I'm reading there's a book over there. I'm halfway through. I read like multiple books at a time, by the way. It's called Beasts of Prey, and it's by Ayanna Gray.
Okay.
She's an author of color, Beasts of Prey.
Prey.
But this is like fantasy, like magical.
Like Harry Potter thing? I mean, I'm not.
Kind of like that. It's a special genre.
Let me not judge. You know what? I've never even read a Harry Potter book or heard of Beast of Prey. Prey.
Yeah, Prey. I like it because this book, it talks like when you're reading, it talks about underlying real life issues, but it's like fantasy world. So I don't know, you like it.
All right, so I have 5 a.m. Club, Beast of Prey, Clever Girl Finance on all social media platforms. And Bola, I so appreciate your candor, transparency, keep it realness. It's been amazing. Thank you
for having me.
Of course. I hope that you come back. Thank you for tuning in to Tell You the Truth. If you connected with today's conversation, please share, subscribe, rate, and review. It helps us grow this incredible Truth Tribe community. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts and follow on social media for the latest updates. Until next time, keep it real and keep showing up for yourself. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.